A client walked into my office in the middle of August. She had fiery red hair. She had a linen shirt on with the sleeves pushed up because the heat was making her skin crawl. She had hives, and not the occasional kind. She had the kind that arrived every June and stayed through September, year after year, for 10 years. She had seen dermatologists, allergists, immunologists. She'd done different elimination diets. She had tried antihistamines and topical creams and ice packs. Nothing gave her more than temporary relief. She said, I've just accepted this is how the summers are going to go for me now. And I thought, that is just nuts. I looked at her and I knew before she finished her first sentence. I knew because of her coloring, her skin color, her redness, her build, the way she was speaking quickly and with intensity. The fact that she'd driven 45 minutes to get here and had a second appointment scheduled for that same afternoon with another practitioner to get some answers. Lorna was Pitta. And in 5 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what I did and why it worked when 10 years of dermatologists couldn't help her. But first, I need you to understand something about your own body. I have a PhD in turmeric research, and I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner with 20 years of working with people and guiding them using Ayurveda. And I honestly, the single thing I've learned in all of that time is this. Most people are treating the smoke, not the fire. Acute inflammation, the kind that you can see, is redness, swelling, the heat around any injury. Your body sends immune cells to protect you. The threat passes. The inflammation resolves. That's all normal. That's healthy. An acute response to inflammation that settles down is healthy. Then we have chronic inflammation, which is completely different. It's a low-grade, constant fire burning inside your cells. It's inside your gut lining. It's inside your brain tissue. It has no obvious symptoms of its own. It just slowly degrades every system that it touches. And eventually, years later, sometimes decades later, it becomes something that gets a different name altogether. Heart disease, arthritis, autoimmune, dementia, cancer, the big ones. 3 out of 5 people, 3 out of 5 worldwide, die from chronic inflammatory diseases. That's insane. That's the majority of us. But the inflammation that set the stage, it was present long before the diagnosis, decades earlier. Standard lab panels are not designed to catch this early. By the time your CRP, your C-reactive protein, is flagged as elevated, the fire has usually been burning for a long time. Most people get told that their labs are normal, and they get sent home with their symptoms intact, maybe a few pills for their symptoms. I've been seeing this for well over 25 years now. Ayurveda has been mapping chronic inflammation for 5,000 years, not with blood tests, but with a framework for understanding which body types carry inflammation in which systems, how it accumulates, what triggers it, and how to interrupt it before it becomes disease. That framework is called elemental design. And your elemental type, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, is the key to reading your own inflammation pattern. If you don't know your type yet, I have a free quiz linked below. But for now, just keep listening. And by the end of this video, you'll have a pretty clear sense of which one you are. So let's talk about it. You feel fine, sometimes even good, and then suddenly you don't. The crash isn't tied to sleep. It's not obviously tied to food. You feel like your battery dropped from 80 to 5 with no warning. You push through, you recover, and then it happens again. Most people attribute that to stress or thyroid issues, or my personal least favorite, just being tired. I'm just tired. No idea. It just happens as we age. In Ayurveda, unpredictable energy depletion is one of the earliest signs that inflammation is burdening what we call ojas, your body's deep vitality reserves. So when chronic inflammation is running in the background, it consumes energy that should be available for your day. So now here's where your elemental type matters. If you're Vata, air and ether, Your crashes are scattered and unpredictable. They're linked to a nervous system that's been overactivated for too long. Your sleep isn't restoring you because the inflammation is running overnight and you have disturbed sleep as a Vata. If you're Pitta, fire and water, your crashes are sharp and sudden. They come after periods of high output, and then you burn out because you burn bright and then have the burnout. The crash often comes with irritability just before it arrives. Now, if you're Kapha, earth and water, your crashes are heavy and prolonged. They're less like falling off a cliff and more like sinking into mud. And more rest for a Kapha makes it worse, not better, which is super counterintuitive, right? But each body type is so different. Now, let's talk about sleep. You sleep sometimes a full 8 hours and you still wake up tired, or you fall asleep easily, but wake up at a specific time, often 1, 2, or 3 in the morning, and lie there with a mind that won't slow down. Or you sleep deeply, but you can't seem to get enough of it ever. Sleep is not just rest. It's the primary window during which your body does its inflammatory repair work. So when chronic inflammation is active, then that deep, slow wave phases of sleep that govern immune regulation become shorter and less effective. You sleep, but the repair doesn't happen. For Vata types, this is the classic racing mind at 2 a.m. You wake in the Vata hours, which is 2 to 6 a.m. Your nervous system is activated. Your thoughts are fast. This is not anxiety. This is Vata inflammation in the nervous system. For Pitta types, you wake up between 1 and 3. The Pitta hours in Ayurvedic circadian mapping are in that 12 to 2 window. So that 1 to 3 window falls close to that 10 to 2 window of Pitta. You're often hot, sometimes with the feeling that there's a problem you need to solve right now, and that's why you can't sleep. For Kapha types, the opposite. The Kaphas have deep sleep, but sometimes it doesn't satisfy them. You sleep long, and you wake up groggy. Your lymphatic system, which does significant detox work during sleep, is congested. The channels are blocked, and that's the issue. And now let's talk about digestion. You used to be able to eat anything, but now certain foods bloat you. Others cause reflux. Your energy after your meals is unpredictable. Or, and this is the one I see most, you've had digestive issues for so long, that you stop noticing them as symptoms. You've normalized the bloating, the irregularity, the heaviness after eating. In Ayurveda, the gut is called the seat of Agni, your digestive fire. And when your Agni is compromised, digestion becomes inefficient. Toxins accumulate and systemic inflammation begins to build. Modern medicine now confirms what Ayurveda has always taught us, that the gut is central to our immune regulation. When the gut lining is inflamed, everything downstream is affected. And so Vata digestion is variable and irregular. You're constipated one day, you're loose the next. You've got bloating and gas, especially with those raw and cold foods. The inflammation is in the motility, the movement mechanism, and it's dysregulated. So sometimes you've got aches and pains here and then there. Then there's Pitta digestion, which is intense and reactive. It's heartburn, acid reflux, inflammation after any spicy or acidic foods. Your digestive fire isn't weak, it's excessive. You've just got too much fire. And then Kapha digestion is slow and heavy. You feel full long after your meals. Weight accumulates even with modest eating. Your digestive fire is low because it's dampened by earth and by water. And now let's talk about mood and cognition. New topic. You've noticed that on the days that your joints ache, your thinking is also foggy. Or that the week your digestion is off, you're also more anxious. Or that when you haven't slept, your emotional resilience is essentially zero. You may have been told this is because you're just sensitive, that you're too much in your head, that your emotional state is causing your physical symptoms. So ridiculous. I wanted to tell you clearly, it's the other way around. Mental inflammation, what Ayurveda calls the disruption of sattva, your mental clarity, is not a psychological condition that's separate from physical inflammation. It is the same fire expressed in the mind. So pro-inflammatory compounds cross the blood-brain barrier and directly disrupt the neurotransmitters that govern your mood, your cognition, and your emotional resilience. It's the same fire, just in different rooms, different body parts. So Vata mental inflammation shows up as anxiety and scatter. The mind moves too fast. It's going through all these worst case scenarios. It can't settle. So this is not your personality. This is your Vata inflammation showing up in the nervous system. Then Pitta mental inflammation. It's irritability and intensity. Frustration arrives faster than it should. The sharpness that serves you becomes the thing that isolates you instead. Then there's Kapha mental inflammation, withdrawal and inertia. There's a heaviness that you feel in your body that's also in your mind. So motivation is low and change feels overwhelming. This is often diagnosed as depression, and it's often physical inflammation presenting as emotional flatness. That's a huge distinction. And finally, let's talk about some symptoms that don't respond to rest, because oftentimes we use rest as the first tool to win at a problem with our health. But what if that doesn't work for us? And this is one of the most important signs, and it's easily the most dismissed one. You take a week off, you sleep more, you eat better, and the underlying feeling of something is off remains. It's not better, it's not worse, but it's just there. It's persistent. And this is the signature of entrenched chronic inflammation. It is no longer responding to the conditions that triggered it. It has become self-sustaining, self-perpetuating. And here's the physiology of why. Cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, is also a powerful anti-inflammatory. So when cortisol is chronically elevated, the body's inflammatory response system becomes desensitized to it. So rest reduces cortisol, but the inflammation has already become independent of the original stressor. And so rest alone will not fix this. Trust me, I know. I have tried it. It doesn't work. And that is not a scary thing. That's useful information because it means you need a specific protocol, not just stress less. Like, you'll be fine if you just stress less. I've had friends say that to me, just stress less. It'll all work better. Your hair will stay in. I'm like, you guys, you don't understand. So for Vata types under this pattern, you feel perpetually wired but tired, exhausted but unable to switch off. And rest doesn't restore because the nervous system remains activated. Then for the Pitta types, you feel burned out. The drive is still there, but the capacity isn't. And rest feels like defeat to a Pitta. So the inflammation is so established that your body's natural cooling mechanisms can't keep pace. And then for the Kapha types, you feel stuck, not just tired, but immovable. And more sleep makes the fog worse. This is Kapha inflammation that has become systemic and requires active, specific intervention to move. And that's so beautiful to have those distinctions between the different elemental designs. And so I promised you that I'd tell you exactly what I did for who had the hives. I asked her one question. What does your diet look like in the summer compared to the winter? I did more grilling. She said, actually, she did more grilling, more tomatoes, pepper, citrus, the foods of summer, the foods that everyone reaches for when it gets hot. But the thing is, she also told me that she was vegan. So I asked her, okay, cool, you're vegan. What are you eating? She's like, oh, well, I make my own cashew nuts pasta sauce, almond milk, cashew paste, cashew burgers. And I looked at her and I said, hold up, those are winter foods. That is a warming food. Nuts are warming. So as a vegan, do you transition to a summer diet in the foods, or do you still use nuts all summer long in everything? She goes, oh yeah, I don't change the nut milk. I don't change the sauces I make. They're all made of nuts. And I said, therein lies the problem. That is Pitta aggravating foods. It's too hot and too warm. And you add on top of it the South Florida summer. It's 100 degrees here in the summer, and the humidity feels like you're stepping into a steam room. It's gross. So all of that warmth and fire that she was adding on top of her already Pitta fire constitution was a double whammy. And that's what was causing these summer hives that she had. So we changed just 3 things, 3 simple things. First, I had her swap her summer diet. So instead of the grilling, instead of these cashew sauces and all these almond milks and cashew pastas and everything she was doing, I said, we need to switch into a true Pitta diet. We went for cooling foods. I asked her to eat lassi, cucumber, coconut milk, cooling spices, like coriander's a cooling spice, cilantro's cooling. So first it was small swaps, 1 food per week until she could get used to it. I didn't want to change everything on her all at once. And that was key. I needed her body to adapt to my recommendations because this is a big switch for someone who eats the same way year round. Second, I gave her an evening ritual that was specifically designed to lower her body temperature before sleep because Pitta types need to physically cool down the nervous system so that you can downshift. And this wasn't meditation. This was actually a practical cooling protocol. And then third, this one's subtle but critical, I had her check her hydration and electrolyte balance. Pitta inflammation often shows up as heat because the body is literally dehydrated at the cellular level. I'm a Pitta. I get headaches every day around 3 o'clock. Every day. And it's so clear because the minute I go and fill up a glass of water and I add in my electrolytes and start hydrating, my body's like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I needed that. So it's so simple, but we have to understand what to do for our own individual constitution. And so once she and I addressed her hydration, all of a sudden the heat from the inside that was coming out through the hives began to shift. So her hives were gone within a week, which I was so excited about. She came back and she said, no more hives. She said the summer after that, no more hives. And she still sends me messages. And I always find that so exciting when people say, yep, I got the result and it's holding. So the dermatologists were really treating the smoke, and I, from Ayurveda, was treating the fire. And that's the difference between addressing a symptom and addressing a root cause, really trying to understand at that core foundational root cause level, what is this? What is her body type? How do I customize this for who she is and what she really needs as an individual? Now, I want you to recognize the same thing about your body that I saw in Lorna. Because here's what I know. If you recognize even one of those 5 signs, your body is communicating something important to you. And the next step is understanding your specific pattern, your elemental type, and what it means for you. That's where everything changes, is once we understand this. And so I've created a free quiz, the Inflammation Code Quiz. It's linked in the description and it's pinned in the comments, that identifies your elemental type and your specific inflammation pattern. It takes 5 minutes. It gives you your inflammation score and your typed protocol, specific to Vata, Pitta, or Kapha patterns. And every Tuesday and Sunday, I send a free email, 1 piece of deep teaching through your elemental lens, and 1 typed action to try that week, not generic wellness advice. I go by your type, your body, your pattern. And so the link to join that is also below. The signs I showed you today are your body communicating with you. So chronic inflammation doesn't need to become a disease with a name before you respond to it. You have a framework now. Use it and get those profound benefits that you need for your body. The whole point of Ayurveda is to show us our unique body type and where different problems are starting to creep up, and we can resolve those before they become full-blown issues. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Check out the links below, like the video, subscribe to my channel. I am here to share with you the wisdom and the ancient wisdom that Ayurveda has brought for us to build true, vibrant health. For more videos like this, check out the rest of my YouTube channel or my website, drshivani.com. And I'll see you guys in the next video.